Jackson and Eli Mercer were just 9 and 7 when they stood in a clearing with a loaded revolver. Facing down armed deputies, 2 children, trained for war by the only man they trusted, their father. What unfolded in the woods behind their home would shock a nation, expose a hidden world of paranoia and survivalism, and raise chilling questions about innocence, fear, and the line between protection and indoctrination. YouTube true crime documentary script on Modern Crime Scope. Title: Brothers 9 and 7 with loaded gun caught in standoff with deputies. In the quiet town of Millersville, population just under 3,000, nothing much ever happened. At least not until a warm spring evening in May, when 2 young brothers, aged just 9 and 7, became the center of a chilling and baffling standoff with law enforcement. It began like any other Sunday. Families were gathered for dinner, kids played on front lawns, and the town's single patrol car cruised down Maple Street without urgency. But at 7:43 p.m., that calm cracked like thunder. A call came in from a frantic neighbor. She claimed 2 boys were wandering behind her property, carrying what looked like a real handgun. She hadn't seen the parents, no other children. No context, just 2 small figures moving through the woods with a firearm that didn't belong in their hands. At first, deputies assumed it was a toy, maybe a BB gun. The kids around here played cowboys and soldiers. But protocol demanded a response. 2 deputies arrived at the scene. What they found was beyond anything their years on the force had prepared them for. The boys stood near an old shed in the woods, holding a fully loaded .38 revolver. It was not a toy, and it was pointed toward them. The deputies backed off, keeping a safe distance while calling for backup and beginning a tense negotiation. The older boy, just 9 years old, held the weapons steady. His younger brother stayed close behind, eyes wide, silent. For over 45 minutes, the standoff continued. Officers spoke calmly, trying to defuse the situation without startling the children. But the question no one could answer: how did they get the gun? And why were they acting like this? As investigators dug deeper, a disturbing story unfolded. The boys were the sons of Daniel Mercer, a former military contractor who had returned from his final overseas tour 3 years earlier. After a motorcycle accident left him partially disabled, he'd become reclusive, paranoid. He homeschooled his children in isolation and stockpiled weapons, convinced the government was watching him. Neighbors described odd behavior: late-night construction noises, cameras mounted on trees, and whispered warnings about not trusting anyone. But no one had any proof of wrongdoing, so no action had ever been taken. Daniel Mercer died of a heart attack just 3 days before the standoff. He'd collapsed in the house alone, and his sons, unsure of what to do, didn't call for help. Instead, they followed the only plan their father had drilled into them: defend the home from intruders. Inside the house, investigators found handwritten manuals pages and pages of survival tactics and booby trap instructions. The boys had been taught how to shoot, how to stay hidden, and how to never surrender. When deputies finally talked them down, offering food and promising not to separate them, the weapon was surrendered. The revolver had been fully loaded with hollow point rounds. Child psychologists were brought in immediately. Children, frightened but unharmed, were placed in protective custody. They didn't fully understand what they had done. To them, they were protecting their family from invaders, just like their father said they might have to one day. But the story didn't end there. 1 week after the incident, workers cleaning the Mercer home found a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. Inside was a laptop, still powered with encrypted files. After weeks of analysis, investigators found journal entries written by Daniel Paranoid Ramblings. Warnings of a government takedown and disturbing entries suggesting he had considered staging a final stand, using his sons as a last line of defense. Whether his death was truly from natural causes or part of a planned escape from accountability remains unsolved. The boys, now under therapy and in foster care, are slowly adapting to a life they never knew existed, one where the world isn't always the enemy. The town of Millersville still talks about that spring night. It's not because it was violent, but because it was tragic, a chilling reminder of what fear can plant, and what it can grow into, even in the smallest, most innocent hands. And in the end, everyone was left asking, how young is too young to be taught to pull the trigger?